Disney direct-to-sequel Villan is really bad, and I have spent 27 hours to watch all of them, and I'm gonna rank all 22 villains from worst to best.
This is not the ending I had in mind!
Sarouche is considered one of the worst Disney villains of all time, particularly because of how popular and well-received his predecessor Judge Claude Frollo was to begin with.
I'm going to do what I should have done 20 years ago!
Like Gaston, he constantly expresses no love for anything but himself. Years ago, when a starving street girl attempted to steal from him and begged not to be turned over to the authorities, Sarouche turned her into his assistant. He used her to distract Quasimodo when executing his brilliant plan to steal a bell. That's it. A guy who wants to steal a big, fancy bell from the bell tower along with his lovely assistant. His most villainous act is threatening a kid to try to get away.
Never apologize!
Beauty and the Beast always holds a special place in my heart. Despite the Beast having an ugly appearance, inside him is a heart of gold. However, Belle's magical world achieves the impossible by making the Beast even more unlikable. The Beast is a giant, violent control freak, and Belle always blames herself for things that are not her fault. There are instances of Beast and Belle being petty over a pathetic argument, and later learning the meaning of forgiveness. How old are they? Additionally, Beast becomes overly possessive of a bird, with no explanation why, to the point where he just seems downright silly.
Why won't you sing for me? You're staying in my castle, the least you can do is sing!
I want to see pink flowers, pink ribbons, pink bows.
Mulan 2 was one of the worst Disney sequels of all time. Mushu goes from being a likable comic relief, as he is in the first film, to a despicable, self-centered jerk for no apparent reason other than to avoid losing his job. While Mushu may have been self-centered in the original film, it was not to this extent.
I mean, who's in charge here? You? Or Mulan?
In fact, he's so despicable that he could very well be the film's metaphorical antagonist. The moment he succeeded in breaking up Mulan and Shang turned him into one of the most hated Disney characters of all time. Mushu is essentially shoehorned into the plot for no valid reason, other than a forced attempt to create pointless conflicts between the film's main characters. Dixie is a kind, beautiful, and dramatic Saluki who playfully teases others with her fluffy tail. She dislikes being disrespected and becomes overly dramatic as a result. When Copper replaces her in the band, she becomes extremely jealous and deviant. Feeling she has been replaced by Copper, she causes chaos, tricking him into eating peanut butter before his turn to sing, turning Todd against him. She comes across as arrogant and bossy, with a somewhat childish demeanor, but visually, Dixie is an amazing character to watch.
Where did this cute little Sweetums come from?
Mama Gunda is a short but overbearing gorilla who is Uto and Kago's mother. She and her son have lived in fear of the imagination monster for a long time, and when they realize there is no monster, they redirect their anger towards other people. Then, 1 second later, she falls in love and redeems herself. Mama Gunda was really unnecessary as a bad guy. Literally, she has no motive. She could have made the same impact on Tarzan's life with a smaller role.
Atka, no!
Atka is a very strong warrior. Nita, Kanai's girlfriend from when he was a child who was not mentioned in the first movie, was supposed to marry Atke. However, the Great Spirits interrupted the wedding ceremony, not wanting Nita to marry him because she was matched up to Kanai. In the climax, Atka tries to kill Kanai, and Nita says to him,
How could you?
What?
how was he supposed to know who that was? It was a bear. Yeah, I kinda support the villain in here because the main character is really unlikable.
It looks like I scared the shadow right out of him.
Rano is a bully, along with being an overconfident and arrogant jerk. He is also very rude to everyone, including his own mother.
Don't bother me when I'm trying to make new friends.
However, he screams for her whenever he's in danger.
Get it off! Get it off! Mommy, get it off!
Rano has always harbored a strong dislike for Bambi out of extreme jealousy, especially since Bambi is the son of the great prince of the forest. He picks more fights with Bambi than anyone else because of this, but Bambi always manages to defeat him. The addition of Ronno as an antagonist adds nothing to the story, but goofiness and low-quality humor. He just acts as an obstacle for Bambi to grow.
You are an old man and a fool!
Eric Hellstrom used to be a well-known businessman. After buying a castle, he named it Asgard, and the press called him the modern Odin because he lived like a god. After the stock market crash destroyed his company, he went insane, believing himself to be Odin. His intentions are to end the world in Ragnarok, but eventually gets defeated. Yeah, he's just a crazy old man, but after seeing the real Odin in the MCU,
What's this?
it's kind of fun to see how pathetic this Odin is. Marina Del Rey was the last villain of Disney's sequel, and she has the most hilarious motive in this list. She is a vain mermaid who served as the governess of King Triton's daughters for 10 years after the death of Queen Athena. However, it turns out she hated her job and wanted to overthrow this little buddy's position. Say what you want about it being a good or bad pair of songs, but the fact that she's singing
It's Marina Del Rey.
should be questionable. Music is banned, and she's singing. The villain was weak and laughable, with weak motives and a feeble personality, feeling like an inferior version of Isma from the Emperor's New Groove.
He betrayed me!
Buster is the former leader of the Junkyard Dogs and the former best friend turned arch-enemy of Tramp. He pretended to be nice to Scamp when he tried to make him a junkyard dog. However, in reality, he is a selfish, angry, arrogant, and manipulative jerk. He used Scamp to get back at the pup's father, Tramp, for betraying their friendship. Instead, he should have been supportive and understanding of Tramp's pursuit of love. It's likely that he wants Tramp to stay on the streets with him, showing no care for his choices. However, it took him a really long time to realize the relationship between Tramp and Scamp as they scratched in the same manner. They have the same color of fur, you idiot!
Not goodbye, Jane. Just until the next time.
When introduced in the episode, Robert started off as a suave, polite, and courteous gentleman. However, he revealed himself to be a greedy and manipulative person, a worst side that Tarzan sensed and perceived as worse than Sabre. It is undeniable that he was once good friends with Jane, but his kindness ultimately succumbed to his lust and greed for profit. You can actually see he's a villain from a mile away, but he still saves Jane at the end, giving him a nice human touch. However, his screen time is really short to rank high on this list.
They can't fall in love if they're dead!
The villain of this movie is a sentient pipe organ. So, what can he do? Does he intend to sing people to death? Yes, he does. He is the Beast's musician advisor and best friend who was transformed into a sentient pipe organ when the spell was cast upon the castle by the Enchantress. However, he later reveals that he has been manipulating his master to prevent him from falling in love with Belle so that he can remain an organ permanently. Literally, he did not watch the original movie closely, because if Fort did kill Belle and the Beast, it would potentially backfire on him for the worse. If the curse was not lifted, the servants, alongside Fort, would die and turn into real inanimate objects as a result of the spell not being broken.
I'll succeed at the one thing my sister never could.
Never have I seen such a bland villainess. She is the younger sister of the sea witch Ursula. She wants to steal the trident to prove her superiority over her sister. However, she lacks her sister's deviousness and gets easily upset when she is told that she is not as good as her sister. Ursula scared me so much as I repeatedly watched The Little Mermaid. Morgana was just a wannabe, which is always ill-advised for Disney. However, at the same time, she managed to hang on to the trident longer than her. Does that mean she's better? Obviously not. She can't do anything right and is a failure as a villain, although she has the same voice Ursula did.
The hand of Midas is mine!
Saluk is a member of the notorious 40 Thieves. Initially second in command to the King of Thieves, Cassim, he later takes control of the group himself. While Saluk may not have any magical powers like Jafar, he is nearly as threatening, a violent, frightening, and rather impatient brute with little, if any, tolerance for those he deems weak. Saluk is certainly the strongest and most fearsome robber in the band of 40 thieves. Despite his brutality, Saluk is shown to be quite intelligent and manipulative, as he was able to rally the remaining thieves to his side. However, he touches the hand of Midas with his bare hand and turns into gold. That is like the most basic thing you should know about Midas's hand.
These lands belong to Scar.
Zira is Nuka, Vitani, and Kovu's mother, Kiara's mother-in-law and archenemy, the leader of the Outsiders and Scar's most loyal follower. Deep inside, though, like any caring mother, she will defend her children. However, she will not tolerate failure or disobedience. She was also subsequently addicted to revenge that, when she faced death, she refused support and fell to her demise out of fury. However, the Lion Group of Zira didn't provide any information on how they were created exactly. All we know is that Zira was possibly the wife of Scar before he died. I wish they could have told more about her as well. If only they had shared more information about her, it would have been much more interesting.
I hereby sentence you to death.
John Radcliffe is the former governor-turned-arch-nemesis of John Smith. I am surprised that Radcliffe returns in the second movie, and his personality changes from mere stinginess to pure menace. Governor John Radcliffe is portrayed as greedy, pompous, and mean, but here he is pure evil. He is nastier than ever. And guess who he's out to get next? Yes, I'm afraid it's Pocahontas. While in England, the evil Governor Ratcliffe will make Pocahontas' mission harder, as he is determined to have the two lands go to war, and his lies constantly fool the king. He allows Smith to fall to his death after Smith tries to get away from the English soldiers. They expose Ratcliffe's lies and machinations to the king, and eventually defeat Ratcliffe. The final battle is funny, but without any suspense at all.
You shall have your wishes.
The film follows Jafar, now an all-powerful genie, seeking vengeance towards Aladdin and his friend. At the same time, Iago turns against Jafar by going back to the palace, causing much turmoil for the protagonist. With a premise like that, one would hope for a thoroughly engaging revenge story with the good and evil duking it out. Sadly, the biggest issue with Return of Jafar is how rushed and unfocused it is. It would rather focus more on Iago, trying to make amends with Aladdin and the gang, than on Jafar, plotting his master plan to rule all of Agrabah. It doesn't help that the person Jafar manipulates to help with his plan is a dreadfully annoying, dim-witted thief, Abbas Mal, whose only purpose is to get back at Aladdin for foiling his criminal activities.
Now slam it!
Hemsterville is cunning, ruthless, and short-tempered in two movies, Stitch the Movie and Leroy and Stitch. His primary goal is to harness the power of Jumba's experiments so that he may overthrow the Grand Councilwoman, take control of the Galactic Federation, and rule the universe. Hemsterville is a pretty good villain, sweet on the outside, but quite dangerous. What more can I say other than he's a funny, maniacal villain right next to Dr. Doofenshmirtz?
Oh, they'll go right after you.
Captain Hook is a pirate captain of the Jolly Roger in Neverland, who seeks revenge against Peter Pan for cutting off his hand and feeding it to a crocodile. Hook kidnapped Wendy's daughter Jane and took her as leverage to try to get what he wanted. He knew where Peter Pan first met Wendy. When he found out that she did not want to be in Neverland, Hook promised her that if she would help him with what he wanted, he would help her with what she wanted. I loved seeing the return of Captain James Hook. He and his sidekick Smee just cracked me up so badly in the first Peter Pan. Although Hook isn't as grand as he is in the original, Hook is more of a villain in this rendition, and I found it good, balancing his comedy out a little. His comedy here is not as funny though. Despite the fact that the crocodile wasn't back, I would have loved to see its return.
Isn't it ironic that your name is Lucky?
Shere Khan is an enormous and powerful Bengal tiger, deeply feared as the most ferocious predator in the jungle. Unlike in the first movie, he appears much earlier, and he turns far more evil and antagonistic than before, much less calm and controlled than in the previous film. Mowgli now lives in the Man Village with adoptive parents and a younger stepbrother, but Khan is still obsessed with killing Mowgli, willing to risk his life to take Mowgli, despite the boy now being protected by the villagers. Shere Khan also no longer displays his sadistic sense of humor. And let's not forget the final showdown in the lava.
Bippity boppity boo!
Lady Madonna Tremaine is Cinderella's harsh and wicked stepmother and arch nemesis. The stepmother gets hold of the fairy godmother's wand and turns back time to the shoe-fitting scene from the first film. She definitely shows her evil side a little more in this one. Lady Tremaine crosses the line from a stingy and self-absorbed elitist to a power-drunk and practically heartless criminal. She is seen not wearing an amused or even satisfied smile, but one that is truly evil afterward. She is even willing to send Cinderella to her supposed doom on a cliff and force Anastasia to marry the prince, even if she isn't sure if she truly loves him. Even when her true nature and actions are exposed to the public, Lady Tremaine decides to compensate for this by using the wand to take over the kingdom by force and punish both Cinderella and Anastasia for their defiance against her. That was really cold. Before going into the best villain, if you would like more videos about ranking or Disney villains, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Now, let's go.
Your muse has returned!
Cruella might not be the best villain of Disney, but she is the most iconic villain in my eye. The psychopath who is willing to kill and skin 99 puppies just to create her own spotted fur coat. And when the Radcliffes would not sell, she resorted to stealing them. Her motive always scares me, and now she's back and is helping a starving artist find his inspiration with the puppies she wants back so badly. She's still as cruel as in the original, and the fact that she's still a terrible driver in this movie is so hilarious.